Welcome to the Coach's Corner, coming to you from the Sugar and Spice here on South Pine Street. We are with the head football coach at Broome High School, Lynn, Fleming, coach. One of those games Friday night where you shot yourself in the foot a lot in that ball game, and it kind of got away from you by halftime, and then they come out and get a good return and kind of really put you behind 8 ball starting the second half.
Yeah, just tip your hats to them. They beat us. We just, wish we would have played our best. I think we had 3 turnovers, and we've been averaging less than 1 turnover a game, and just on some kind of freaky plays. And then, we had some offside penalties on defense, and it hurt us a little bit too. That kept some drives alive. So, we did enough. They don't need any help, and we did enough to help them. So. We were kind of battling 2 teams Friday night, and we just, like I said, I wish we would have played better because we're a lot better football team than that.
And again, I honestly felt like that, that game, you take away the things you're talking about there, that game probably should have been decided by who had the ball last.
Yeah,
right,
very easily could have been.
But on the unfortunate side, things coming out of the game, he hated to see this too, but you lost Jameson Dearberry for the rest of the season, and that kind of ended his long career as a Broome Centurions on the football side of it there with a broken arm in the 3rd quarter.
Yeah, well, Jameson, like so many of our guys, have been a staple of this program. He grew up wanting to be a Centurion, and that's what he had a chance to do. It was kind of special that his dad was able to coach him, coming through. So. Jameson he emerged as a leader for us. He did a really good job managing our football team. And, just proud of what he's accomplished. And the thing about Jameson is, man's going to be successful in whatever he does. We're glad he's going to be able to get back and for the spring season and play some golf. And we certainly hate it for him. And love him to death. And it's devastating. I know it is for him.
And you move one of your guys over from the receiver spot now, where Braden Simpson will slide over to quarterback there, though. And again, he's a good athlete and can give you probably a lot of different dimensions now. Things that he can do that maybe Jameson couldn't do. There's a lot of things that he can't do that Jameson could. But Bill, and we're not going to let his secrets out tonight anyway with this, though. But again, he gives you kind of some different things to do on offense now.
Well, the good thing about Braden, I think he's excited about this opportunity. Obviously not the way it came about, but he's been in this role before. He's a quarterback in middle school for us, and he's taken some reps for us. Throughout the year in practice and stuff. And I think he can certainly do the job. We have all the confidence in the world in him, and I think his teammates are going to do a fantastic job of rallying around him and and helping him on Friday night. And Braden, without a doubt, he's going to do a great job for us.
And again, I didn't realize it as much there, but he's got a strong arm too. I guess if you're going to play center field on the baseball team, you got to have a strong arm. But he threw some deep balls well. My biggest problem, what I was worried for him, was being able to see down the field. He's a little bit shorter, and I know the first couple of snaps were kind of high, and he had to jump up and get them with those.
Yeah, and that's just trying this week to get some stuff that he's comfortable doing. And the good thing is he's run this playbook before, so he understands it, he gets it. Not a whole lot's going to change. So we're excited about the opportunity for him just to see him out there playing, and like I said, he's going to do a great job.
And it's not like he's not going to have anybody to help him out there too, because you still got Booker knocking on the door for 1,000 yards again this year. I think that Asher's really emerged as an offensive weapon for you. The second half of the season, you got Reese, you got Jordan back there, so he's going to have some help from his friends on the offensive side of the ball. He's not going to do it all by himself.
He is, and I think he's watched Jameson enough and been a part of offense enough to know how important it is to spread the ball around. And I think he's going to do that. Like you said, he's got playmakers around him, and as far as him, he's just going to disperse it to them and let them make some plays, and he's going to make some plays on his own.
How big of an advantage you think it is for him being a former receiver when it comes to your passing games, he knows exactly where the guys are going to be because he's been one of those guys all year long. And just knowing the routes, really well and things like that from having played receiver, how will that help you in the passing game?
Oh, I think it'll help him tremendously. Doing some 7-on-7 stuff today, he looked good doing that. And like you said, he just he understands his route, he understands the concept, and what we're looking for, and which defender we're reading, and so it's definitely an advantage having him do that. And he's played. He played inside receiver, slot receiver all year last year, and this year he's primarily played outside. So he's played a little bit all of it. So he's got that experience, and that's definitely going to be an advantage and help him Friday night.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your 2 players of the week down here. These have been your 2 probably most consistent players all year long. It had to be because it's the 4th trip for both of them this year, right there though. But after the Woodruff game, you knew MVP. You probably had it drilled in them. They had to stop the run. So they were really looking for Booker, but he still got 91 yards carrying, a touchdown run, and was still, being able to establish the running game for you.
Yeah, he did. We really found some things the second half that we were able to take advantage of, and he had some really good runs for us. They had 2 guys in the middle that, did a good job. They big guys, it's hard to move, and just kind of held us around, and we figured out a few things to get him some holes. But Booker's just you know what you're going to get from him when you go out there on Friday night. He's going to run as hard as he can. He has such a good vision. You watch him make some cuts out there, and he's got the vision better than a lot of running backs that I've seen, probably more than most that I've coached. And, he just finds a crease and sticks his foot in the ground and get through it. So he does a really good job. And like you said about Asher's he's a 2-way guy for us. It's been so consistent, which is why he's going to be representing us in the North-South game. He's just a phenomenal player on both sides of the ball. And, we try to get him a break as much as we can, but it's hard to do that because he's so valuable on both sides. So, it's two great football players, and both these guys are a lot of fun to coach just because they're so competitive.
And I enjoyed sitting here while we were waiting on our table. Booker and I sat here, but we shoot the breeze for about 30 minutes. And he's just really excited about the games coming up. He's really confident about what's coming up and all right there too. And what's going on right now? He was telling me some of the places that have taken schools, taking interest in him. He's visited some places and had some people that he's caught their eye.
Yeah, he has. People watch the film on him and see some of the stats that he has, and people are starting to recognize him. He's taking some visits, taking some trips to a few schools, and he's staying in contact with them. And I think he's going to get an opportunity to play at the next level.
That'd be great. He was telling me I think he got accepted in one school already there, and again he's done some things this year that I've seen intangibles. The way that he waits on a blocker, that he lets the blocker set him up for the hole. So many running backs run through and beat the blocker through the hole, and there's no hole there. It gets a traffic jam there. But he uses his blockers really well, and that, and the way he hits the holes and stuff. And the way that he's going to keep those legs going, and that pile's going to keep moving. He's not going down after his first hit.
Well, one thing Book knows is, it's hard for him to get yards on the edge. He can when he give it to you, but he knows that most of his yards are going to be from tackle to tackle. So we run counter mug sweep where he follows that second forward, and he's going to try to keep that thing up in there as best he can. And he knows how to get north south, and that's what he's really good at doing.
On Asher right now, though, you mentioned Asher's going to be in the North-South All-Star game, and I think that will be great exposure for him. He's having the kind of senior year. Have there been a lot more schools that start taking a look at him now that maybe weren't looking at him at the beginning of the year?
They will. Recruiting's changed so much now. It's transfer portal. It's really changed how schools recruit. So everything, unless you're Power 5 guy that they zeroed in, sophomore, junior year, most things are going to happen late. It's kind of a domino effect and how things fall, and, who can get pulled from the transfer portal, and then it's really it's unfortunate for these high school kids because now they get guys that are moving around for schools, and you've got high school guys that want to come in and be developed, and schools aren't taking the time to do that. They're looking for a quick fix, and they're looking for somebody that's already already developed and bring in and play right away. So it's tough on these guys now, and it takes a lot of patience, which is hard to explain to people and hard to tell people. But these two guys are going to get an opportunity, and it's just a matter of where. And the crazy thing is, they have to go play somewhere. They have to get some film, and then who knows? You guys that move up and transfer and moving all the time. So you just got to get somewhere and get some film, and at the collegiate level, and then you get good film, and that turns into other opportunities.
Would he be the type of player, and because I noticed, he's made a couple of visits to NC State and all like that he's going to get some offers, I feel sure, from your smaller school, scholarship offers, but would he be somebody that could possibly go to a bigger school as a preferred walk-in, that they would take him in that kind of role?
Well, I think, with his grades, one thing about him is his grades are really good. I think he could probably walk on about anywhere. I think teams would be crazy not to take him because, his ceiling's so high. He's going to continue to gain weight. His measurables are through the roof. In fact, something he was interested in doing, he could definitely do that, about anywhere he wanted to.
Because he's with his size and speed. I could see him going on, because I look at Colasurdo that was at Chapman, did that at South Carolina, walked on, and some other players that South Carolina's had several Chapman players, like Twitty and some of the other guys that were there that had filled that same role, that I could envision seeing him possibly in a role like that if he wanted to do that. All right, let's get back to take a look now at our opponent this week. Is the Chapman Panthers. That is literally a team that has been a thorn in the side of Broome since 2014 last week. And it just seemed like, I felt like last year we had a better team and bad things have happened. This felt like they've had the horseshoe in that game. But it's time for that streak to stop.
It is, mentally, we just have to get past that mentally. I think that's big. That's the biggest thing. There's years when we've gone in and we've been a better team, and we didn't win the football game. We just have to be able to overcome and, not to play or coach to lose a game. We're going to have to go out there and really approach to go win a game. We're going to have to do that from the way we call plays. We're going to do that from the way we play. To give our guys an opportunity. But, this group's confident, and I know it's going to be senior night for them. We're going to get, their best effort. Our guys know that. And, I think our guys are going to play well. They're certainly disappointed with the play they played last week, so they're definitely ready to get that taste out of their mouth and get ready to play Friday.
Again, this is a team that is uncharacteristically only one win on the season. I remember both of these teams being, two teams probably in the top 10 in the state there, but they've just really had a miserable year this year. And their one win was a come-from-behind win over the Union County team that we saw earlier this year.
Yeah, and and they've had kind of like us on the front end. They played a very tough schedule. And they've had some guys that have moved on to other schools, which is definitely hurt them. They're going through a transition. It's been a tough year, and I'm sure it's been discouraging for those guys. But you wouldn't know it watching them on the field. They play hard. They play hard every week. They give everything. They give Woodruff everything they can handle last week, and they're certainly not going to come out and lay down and let us win the football. They're going to come out and battle. They're going to fight, which is all we've seen on film. So they'll be prepared to play, and we will too. So it should be a good one.
And I'm sure that based on the series has gone their way in recent years, they're going to come in expecting to win this game. Not hoping, but expecting to win the game. Well, what have you seen personnel-wise on offense? They've always had a pretty good quarterback in that system up there, though. What are they going to try to do offensively?
Well, offensively, they're going to try to establish them. They're going to run a lot of jet sweep, a lot of counter. They're going to be, try to lull you sleep with some play action stuff. Throw some screens as well. A lot of quick game stuff, and trying to get you to sleep and jump on down the field. So, a lot of condensed formations. And, they like to show a lot of formations with a lot of movement. So that's what they're going to do on offense. They're trying to get numbers. They're trying to get you out of position, and they do a pretty good job of doing that.
Okay. Defensively, I was asking Booker a little bit who they reminded him of. He said they were very similar in the way they played to Blacksburg defensively. So what have you seen with them defensively?
Yeah, I think they're going to be in a fair defense tonight. I think, kind of what we talked about earlier, I think they're going to be geared up to stop the run. So I think they're going to have 6 or 7 guys in the box. And, not sure if we're going to see some man coverage or some zone, but anyway, I look for them to gear up and stop the run. I think that's going to be their priority Friday night.
Mm-hmm. I know with seeing a different quarterback game like that. Like we said, we're not going to talk game plan, but I know that you'll have some things up your sleeve to counter what they want to try to do in defense right there, though. Special teams. How do they look?
Well, as far as kicking, I think he kicks it really well. And not that he can kick it in the end zone, but he does a very good job. I was telling our guys today, he does a very good job placing it. He can put it just about where he wants it, and they kick it to a lot of different areas. Chapman's known for doing a lot of different things, extra points and faking punts. And, they do a lot of stuff like that. So that's something we have to be well aware of, and something we have to be awake on. If you go in there and hang your head, on a 4th down play or on an extra point, they're gonna sneak one in on you. So we just have to make sure we play every snap, and that's including special teams.
And one thing, going back to something you said earlier, you mentioned that this past week, and it's happened in other games, about the offside penalties. What can you do practice-wise? What do you go back and do to correct that?
Yeah, it's kind of tough. I mean, it's funny because we run offense. We don't have cadence. So you should be watching the football. I don't know. I guess we just get so caught up and so out of control that we hear that cadence. We're used to hearing it, and we go. But it's in practice. We feel like we do as much as we can to make sure these guys, we're trying to communicate, yell at them to watch the ball, and make sure they communicate with each other to watch the ball. And I just think we get so wrapped up in the game that. These guys with the cadence as the game goes along, they just get used to hearing it, used to going, and we just kind of get in that mode.
And it's awful tough too, because that when they're going to do it, it's going to be down the distance, 3rd down, short. That's when you got to be more ready for it than any other time. All right, last question is, what do you see the keys for snapping that streak and getting Centurions a little momentum going in the playoffs?
Well, after last week, we have to protect the football. We have to win the turnover battle. I think that's the biggest thing Friday. Obviously, we have to run the football. We have to run the football, control the line of scrimmage, and defensively, we just can't give up big plays. I think we can. I think our guys will do a good job of limiting snaps. And we just got to make sure we just don't give up shots down the field.
Okay. And very quickly, playoff scenarios. If this is the last regular season game, you kind of got an idea of what the playoff situation for the Centurions looks like.
Yeah, I think if we win this game, we'll host the next round. It'll probably either be Crest or Tony. Those guys play this week, I think, for that position. And we'll host those guys. If we lose, we'll probably go into looks like Southside Christian.
Well, we look forward to getting back on a winning track, snapping that streak with Chapman there, and having some momentum going into the playoffs. So good luck tonight, and we look forward to talking to you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Coach Dick Cox, and I just want to take this opportunity right now to extend an invitation. If you would like to help us out for the Broome Centurion football playoffs, we finish up the regular season against Chapman on Halloween night, but we will be starting the playoffs the following Friday night, and we are needing broadcast sponsors for the high school league playoffs. The high school league charges us an enormous fee to broadcast, to live stream, video stream these games, and just our expenses are so high that we cannot actually do the broadcast of the games unless that we can get some help from our sponsors, though. But it is, if you can get in touch with me either by emailing me at coxsportsbroadcasting@yahoo.com, or if you are a Facebook friend of mine, you can direct message me. But we are desperately needing sponsors to be able to pay the fees that we have to pay and the expenses we have to pay to broadcast the playoff games for the Broome Centurions. Thank you. We appreciate you following us this season and appreciate your help and support. But if you can help us again, sure would appreciate it. Thank you and have a good evening. Bye-bye.